Hi guys and welcome back. Today is my Wednesday video, and if you haven't heard yet, I am uploading Wednesdays and Saturdays now. And today I wanted to do a digital piece. The last one that I uploaded, I really loved. It definitely lit a fire under me to want to get back and do some more digital stuff since it's been so long, and I loved some of the things that I did in that one. So I was really feeling ready to do a little bit more digital stuff. And today is a nice, simple portrait drawing. I needed to make sure that it was something that I could handle and get done in less than a day because I do have convention at the end of this week, which I am super excited about, but as always, I feel really behind on preparations. So I wanted to make sure that I still got videos out for you guys for this week, and I also really wanted to add a few more prints to my display before I go. So that was my goal today, is something that can look nice, but also be pretty simple. But today I'm going to talk a little bit about this piece, but also I'm going to answer a few questions and topics that you guys requested. There was a video maybe a couple weeks ago where I asked for topics and suggestions for me to talk about, and most of them I haven't really been able to get to because there's a lot of great ideas that you guys have to talk about and things that I'm interested to. So today I'm going to try to talk about a bunch of different things, and this may be what I turn my Wednesday videos into, is just something where I can talk about art. So again, if you guys have any suggestions of talking topics you'd like to hear me ramble on about, please leave them down below. And yeah, we can go ahead and get started on this piece. And one of the questions that I got said, could you talk about giving up? I mean, during my life, I gave up a lot of types of papers, pencils, and paints because I couldn't find a way to make art with them, even looking at tutorials and stuff. Have you ever had to give up on a material or medium because you couldn't find a way to get good use out of it? Yes, definitely. I mean, there are so many different ways to create art and different tools out there. There is no way that every single one's going to work for everyone. But I've noticed that there have been ones that have been like really pushed by a lot of people on YouTube or social media where they're like, this is the most amazing tool I've ever used. It'll solve all your artistic problems and it's going to be amazing. And I've tried it and it definitely did not work for me. And sometimes it can feel like I'm doing something wrong, like I'm messing it up and I need to just push through it and make it work. But in the end, if something is just not enjoyable to you and it's not working and it's not really providing the solutions that you're looking for, then it absolutely is not worth the bother of even thinking about it. One particular example for me, and I actually plan on trying this out some more, so this is not a permanent I hate this tool thing, but the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen is one that I got and I loved the idea of it, but when I was actually using it, it was just so hard for me to get the precision that I wanted, and it just felt like I was fighting with it rather than being able to have an extension of what I was imagining for it. But like I mentioned, I do actually want to try it again. I think I can handle it a little bit better this time, but there are just a lot of tools like that. Oil painting is another one. I tried it. I hated it. I will, again, probably try it again. I think that it's worth trying things again at different points in your life because I do feel like I have a little bit more of an understanding of how I could handle it now, but still, there's just ones where it's just, when you try it out, you know that it's just not going to work with you and the way that you think and the way that you process your work. So there's definitely no reason to feel bad about that. Especially, it can be hard when it's like you see that tool being used everywhere by everyone and it feels like you have to use it to do good art because that's what's popular and that's what people are pushing. But it's not. And do not worry about going against the grain. If there's another tool that you love and it just happens to not be the fad at the moment, that's what you should be working with. You should be enjoying what the process is for you. And another one is looking for suggestions on how to draw with a tablet that has no screen, which I spent maybe 8 years drawing on one. I had a old Wacom Intuos 3, I think, so it doesn't have a screen at all. And there's a few things. I mean, the first one is just giving yourself time to get used to it. There's a certain amount of a learning curve that goes with it where when you first get it, it feels super foreign to be drawing with your hand down on the desktop, but then looking up at what you're drawing. So really when it comes down to it is just give yourself time to rewire your brain to know how it works. I mean, there's some professionals out there who still use tablets that do not have a screen because it works with them and it works for them. So just give yourself time and practice. But another thing is if you're really just very used to working traditionally and it feels really strange, like the tactile experience of using that tablet. This is actually a tip that I got long after I even was using one, unfortunately. But what you can do is you can just tape a paper down to your tablet. You can take like a nice rough sketching paper and put it down and then draw on top of it. It's still going to read and it'll be able to feel like you're drawing on paper. And I thought that was a genius tool because it really does actually. I tried it out and it feels really pleasant and it feels a lot more intuitive. And once you add that little bit of feedback, sometimes it can be like all the difference, honestly. And I got a lot of requests to talk about composition, and this is like a big, amazing topic, which I definitely need to do some dedicated videos to talking about it and showing examples, because there is a lot to learn about composition. But I love composition. I love figuring out that final little puzzle that just makes everything click together, and I feel like it's this thing that can really push a kind of mediocre or boring piece into an area that's really interesting by just including some very small changes. So this is definitely something that I would like to do, like an actual like how-to tutorial type thing. But the first thing, I'll just give a little bit of an intro of things to look out for, is look for lines and shapes that are specifically leading the eye off of the page or into areas that aren't flowing back into itself. So a big part of when you're viewing art and composition is to make sure that you are looking through the entire piece. If you look up a bunch of beautiful artwork from, say, the Renaissance, you'll see that they are masters of composition, of making sure that you are going from one place to the next, and you can see this actual physical path that your eye takes throughout that piece. So if you're struggling with composition, I would definitely go back to the masters and look at them and study them and see the way that it directs your eye. And when you're working on your own, look at areas where you have, say, a line that's pointing straight off the page and there isn't another connecting shape or line elsewhere in the piece that's bringing it back down, back into the piece. That's one of the biggest things to look for, is if the eye is being shot off the page and not brought back on, then that's something that you can fix. And that's kind of an easy thing because you can add elements to it that'll just connect back into it. And I know this is all very abstract, but I will definitely talk more about composition in the future and show some real examples. This one is a very, very simple composition, but those elements do still come into play. So where I have her hair flowing in this arc down in the corner, I make sure that it follows that curvature up on the other side so that it, rather than going straight down and your eye follows down on that first right hand chunk of hair on the bottom, it comes back up on the left side because it's flipping it up and it's bringing the eye back around, and then you connect back to her face because eyes are naturally drawn to faces, and then it follows the hair back down the right side of the piece, and it's just a very cyclical path that the eye takes in this piece. So again, just pay attention to the path that the different objects and the line work in your piece send you to. And if you have one area that you want to be the focal point, have lines and shapes pointing directly at it. That is a great tool for making sure that that is the prime place that the eye wants to go to and look at, is just making sure that the piece itself is supporting that and telling the viewer that that is important and that's what they should be looking at. And another question I got was asking, how do I design out the shape of the hair and how do I choose the hairstyle and everything? I do have a video where I go over how I draw hair, so I'll go ahead and link that down in the description and in a card right now. But there's a lot that actually goes into it, but the one thing that I think about the most is the composition of the entire piece. So this one is a good example of that, where since it's just a portrait and it's only her head and I don't have to worry about a background or anything, I like to push the hair to the point that it becomes a very strong compositional element in the piece itself. So here it fills down that whole bottom area, it overlaps over on top of her. I'm able to really push a very interesting and dynamic composition entirely because of her hair. And I love doing that with hair because it's so organic. I can make it twist and bend exactly the way I want it to, and I can add different types of details and different textures with it. So that's one of my favorite tools, is to use it to fill in space like this to give it a really interesting composition. And that is it for today. I couldn't quite decide if I liked it more with a contrasting cool hair color or if I like it more harmonious with this pinky purple one. So let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear which one you prefer, especially since I'm going to be printing these off and taking them to convention. So that would be really helpful actually. And again, let me know some topics you'd like me to talk about. And if you're going to be in the Salt Lake area, I will be at FanX this weekend, so please come say hi and mention that you know me from my videos, and I'll give you a free mini print. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I post every Wednesdays and Saturdays, and I'll see you in my next one.